Back in 2024, I probably made the best video in this channel's history, which was a complete 42-minute, 57-second documentary on the full career of Counter-Strike legend Zeus. I talked about how he stole a car as a child, to then playing 1.6,
to joining his first team, to how the organization Na'Vi even came to be, to winning his first 1.6 major, to winning a lot more 1.6 trophies, and eventually being on top of the 1.6 world.
Then I talked about how his transition into CSGO was a little rocky, and it got to the point where he eventually got kicked from his baby of Na'Vi. Then, after being kind of uncertain of what his future would look like, he would go on to join Gambit and go on one of the most unlikely major runs in Counter-Strike history. But while I talked about pretty much everything in this video, there was something that I did miss. Something actually fairly important that we need to talk about today, because it is a legendary moment in Counter-Strike history, and without it, Zeus's legacy would be drastically different. But first, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this story, I first want to give you some background on Counter-Strike lore for no reason in particular. One of the best in-game leaders in the early 2010s was a Belgian man known as Existence. He played on Very Games from 2009 until the org left Counter-Strike at the start of 2014, and from 2009 to 2012, Very Games was consistently one of, if not the best French Source team in the world. Yeah, they played Source instead of 1.6. This team housed French legends like Kenny S, Smiths, RPK, NBK, and Shocks during their time in Source, but the reason that we are specifically talking about them today is because they are the godfathers of something known as the French Timeout. During this era of Counter-Strike, tournaments were a little more scuffed than they are today, and timeout rules varied from tournament organizer to tournament organizer. Some had unlimited timeouts and others just simply had none. So Very Games figured out a workaround for this, to consistently always have a timeout no matter the rules. If they had bad money and needed to eco, instead of just running out with their pistols and trying to win a round they had a very low chance of converting, Very Games decided instead that they would just sit in spawn a lot of the time, and would instead use this save round as a timeout. Just throw the round in the garbage and talk for the next 2-ish minutes about the game, what they wanted to do next gun round, what was maybe going wrong, things they can exploit, really anything to tactically give them an edge moving forward. And because they were the best French Source team at the time, this tactic became known as the French Timeout. Oh la la! Keep this in mind.
Hello guys, it's me, Garmour. The first time you've ever seen me in person before. If you guys would like to support me or the stuff that I do here, check out the new long-term sponsor of the Garmour YouTube channel, SkinSwap. SkinSwap is the #1 place to trade your Rust or Counter-Strike skins for new ones where you can instantly upgrade your inventory. And if you use my code Garmour, you can get up to $50 on a free skin and a 3% lifetime selling bonus. And now you can easily buy skins off of the Chinese marketplace for cheaper prices than you ever could on the Western marketplaces. I truly think this is the best feature on any skin trading website, but if you are looking to sell, you can sell your skins for crypto, PayPal, Venmo, and a bunch of other withdrawal methods. Along with this, SkinSwap has a vault system now, which makes it the most rewarding skin trading website. And of course, don't forget the giveaways. And I think that's it. Thank you to them, thank you to you guys, and back to the video.
And so fast forward, we are now in 2016, and after being IGL of Na'Vi since 1.6, Zeus has been kicked for simple. Yes, Sample himself. It was a very bold move, considering that at the time Na'Vi were the #4 ranked team in the world and were consistently great, but they did also seem to have a very hard stuck ceiling. Na'Vi missed the playoffs of the first 2 CSGO majors, and then went on to make the next 7 in a row, even making back-to-back finals at Cluj and Columbus. But despite this consistent success, they were never able to win a major. So they decided, we'll just bring in the best Ukrainian talent in the world and see if that firepower upgrade is enough to get us over the hump. And I mean, technically this did eventually work out for the team. Simple was fucking goated during his time in Na'Vi, but it did take like 5 years for them to finally win their major. And unfortunately, after this move, Zeus would kind of be left out to dry. This is when he decided to make a very tough decision. He was going to reinvent himself on the 23rd ranked team in the world, Gambit, who at the time were only ranked one spot above Echo Fox with Sean Gares, Freakazoid, and Shazam. What a time to be alive. Gambit would win some A-tier tournaments and go into Atlanta as the number 16 ranked team in the world, where they would play very well, going 3-1 in groups and making playoffs. But in these major playoffs, they would have to play Fnatic, who had kind of a scuffed roster at the time. This was right after the whole Fnatic Gambit swap, and they now had Twist and Disco Doppelin, and were ranked number 20 in the world. Gambit would lose this series 2-1, but it was a good showing for the team nonetheless. And after this, over the next few months, Gambit would play in a few S-tier tournaments, not doing too much, but they would win DreamHack Open Austin 2017, an A-tier tournament, and going into the Krakow Major, they were ranked as the number 14 team in the world. At this point, they were in a very similar spot to the one they were in going into Atlanta, and were kind of expected to do about the same thing, if not worse. But instead, this time, the team actually ended up looking better, going 3-0 in the groups, partially because Rifler for the team Adren was playing out of his goddamn mind. This would result in Gambit and Fnatic having a rematch in the quarterfinals, although this time around Fnatic kind of looked more like their traditional roster, as they had gotten JW and Flusha back. You would think it would be harder for Gambit with this Fnatic roster, but it didn't look like it was. There was a close map 1 on Train, but Gambit would win 16-14, and then also win map 2 16-12. But then, in the semifinals, it seemed like Gambit's time was up. They'd need to play Astralis.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
The team who had just won the last major in Atlanta. So with that prologue out of the way, this is going to be the series that we are mainly focusing on today, because in no universe should Gambit have any chance in this game. Map 1 Overpass starts with Astralis taking B site and getting the opener, and a 4v5 retake would begin. But right before the bomb gets planted, Hobbit gets a pick on Dupree. Then in this 4v4, Gambit does not lose another player. They then convert the next, and in round 3, they still have 2 UMPs, which means this is a bonus round. You win, great. You lose, you still have money for the next. Astralis would decide to execute A here and get flattened. But maybe even worse for Astralis, it doesn't look like Dupree can hit a shot. The power of friendship really kept Zeus alive here, and he ended up getting a 3K in this round. And well, if we fast forward a little bit further, Gambit is now up 6-0. Every single round is seemingly going their way. A 1v2 retake with an AWP? Yeah, give it to them. Astralis would go on to start winning some rounds, but the first half would end 10-5. But they would go on to win the pistol in the second half, along with the conversion. If they could win the bonus round like Gambit did, we would finally have a game on our hands. Thankfully, Gambit's A-take would go a little better than Astralis's did, and this ended up starting a streak of rounds that would put Gambit up to 15, while Astralis was still at 7. They'd try to come back, but could only win a few more before Gambit would put map 1 away. This was an unreal start for Gambit, who was an insane underdog in this series, especially when you also consider this was Astralis's map pick. And while you might be thinking maybe Gambit can run away with this series, on map 2, Astralis would remind us why they were the favorites in the first place. They'd start Inferno T side up 9-3, ending the first half 10-5. Things wouldn't go much better for Gambit after switching halves, and Astralis would close out map 2 16-8. So it would all come down to a map 3 Train decider. Train is famously one of the most CT-sided maps in Counter-Strike history, so going into this map, Glaive and Zeus were probably both thinking the same thing. The winner would most likely be decided by which captain could call a better T-side. Every T round was incredibly valuable, and Glaive would get the first crack at it. Unfortunately on pistol, Astralis would get melted going into A site, and maybe feeling the pressure, Glaive and Astralis decided to force buy into this next round. 3 Tech 9s, 2 Deagles, and 2 Smokes. It would not go very well, and they'd be forced into a full save on the next. Then up 3-0, we get a pivotal 1v1 towards Ivy between Dupree and Hobbit. It's currently a 4v4. This one kill can swing the entire round, and Dupree ends up making a terrible mistake. He didn't fully clear the corner, and then this happens.
Might be a moment, Ball pulls up to pin the grenade. That's the time to go here. Oh, where did that flash come from? Insane.
Yikes. The round then turns into a 2v3 retake on B site, where Zeus tries to go hero mode, but it isn't enough. Thankfully, Gambit would recover in the next round and go up 4-1 to break Astralis's money, and in this round, Dupree actually stays alive and saves an AK, which honestly might have been worse for Astralis, because he ends up going into the next round with $100, and due to this, the team decides to buy around it, but they then lose that round and then have to full save the next, and all of a sudden, Gambit is up 6-1. An incredibly strong start on CT side, very similar to their map 1 of Overpass, but unlike Overpass, it didn't look like Gambit was gonna let off the gas. 7-1, 8-1, and then in the 10th round, they have an opening pick to make it a 5v4. But then Astralis gets pick after pick after pick, and finally gets another T round to make it 8-2. You might be thinking to yourself,
Gambit's still up 8-2, who really cares?
but they need to be very careful now. Mostly because on Train, every single T-side 1 kind of feels like 2. And if they let Astralis win just a couple more to end the half, they were absolutely back in this map. But first, they would need to win round 11, and it came down to the wire. Astralis would start to gain some momentum, and Gambit were 1 round away from being broke. But this is when Astralis really fucks up. After a fairly long tech pause, I guess the players just weren't thinking, and 40 seconds into the round, Kierby has $3,850 and a Glock. He forgot to buy a weapon. So before they execute B site, he trades with Glaive, and despite this brutal error, Astralis takes the site with ease. They even then kill the 2 players trying to save. So despite this round being the biggest swing round of the game so far, and one of the Astralis players forgetting to buy a gun, it could not have gone any better. Gambit is now broke. Astralis has momentum, and their T side is starting to look very strong. It's now 8-5, and if Gambit loses this, they are broke again, opening the door for an 8-7 CT side of Train. That would be a complete disaster. Astralis decides to go B. Trades are going back and forth, and it becomes a 2v2 retake, with Glaive on one of the juiciest flanks that you'll ever see. But then this happens.
Glaive, they have no idea where is the second player looking to play, make a championship play here. Hobbit, they don't know where he is yet. Oh, he's killed his teammate! Dan, this time it's for real. But it's no good for Hobbit. He's got to bait Glaive to the point of no return, and he does it. A nice round on the board.
First the no gun, now the team kill. In this moment, if you win this round, it kind of feels like the map has fallen into your hands. You had the momentum and could have only been down 1 round going into the CT side of Train. The nerves should be getting to Gambit as the more inexperienced underdog team, but it seemed like they were all on Astralis' side. Despite this, Astralis wins the next and ends the T side of Train with 6 rounds. A very good half all things considered, but imagine instead of being down 3, you were only down 1. Those small things matter a lot in games like this. It's in the past now. All Astralis can do is try to lock in and move forward on the CT side. And while on the T side, it was now Zeus's turn. Suka, blять! Would he be able to beat Glaive's 6 rounds? The pistol is a B pop, and it's an incredibly successful one at that. They're already off to a better start. Astralis, once again, after losing pistol, decides to force, and just like in the first half, it does not go well. So after that and a full save, Gambit are now winning 12-6. This is now where the real game starts. Astralis is one of the best teams in the world, now with guns on the CT side of Train. The first gun round is a 4v4 retake on B site, and it turns into a Doja 1v2 with an AWP and a smoke on the bomb. As you would expect, Astralis wins this, but thankfully for Gambit, they do have enough money to buy into the next, although it doesn't really matter, because on their B take, Zipix gets 3. Astralis would end up winning this as well, and despite losing 2 in a row, Gambit still has money to buy. But this round would be everything they had. Another huge swing round, and Gambit gets picked off 1 by 1. It ends with Doja and Mo saving. Because of this, Gambit forces into this round, similar to what Astralis did in the first half. They would try and boost Mo Ivy to get an AWP pick, but Kierby would give them nothing. Although when they eventually send to Ivy, he whiffs an entire goddamn clip and puts the round into a 4v4. This is the opening that Gambit needed, and they get into A site and plant in a 3v2. This becomes a 3v1, and even though Zipix is the clutch god, even this is too much for him. So with a force buy, Gambit breaks Astralis' 3-round streak, but would Gambit be able to replicate this round? It did take a fully whiffed clip from Kierby to get them on A site in the first place, and we'd find out very soon because Astralis was buying into the next, and this would be all of their money. An absolute must-win round for them. Then, in very similar fashion to a lot of other Gambit T rounds, they would get picked off 1 by 1 by 1, and be forced to save in a 2v5. The round after that, they would force Tech 9s to pair with the 2 saved guns, but this time it isn't nearly as successful as the first. After starting up 8-1, the score is now 13-11, and Astralis has literally all of the momentum on one of the most CT-sided maps in the entire game. On this next full save round, it kind of looked like Gambit's mental was cooked. Players running out with no real plan, players jumping around doing nothing. What in the world was happening to them? But this is when the observer pans to Zeus, sitting in spawn with a P250 just yapping. Gambit was doing a French timeout, and Zeus would end up using the entire clock, finally walking out B with 11 seconds left. This was then immediately followed up by a tactical timeout and paired with more Zeus yapping. With that full round plus the timeout, it was well over 2 minutes of just Zeus purely talking to his team to try and stop his boys from choking away this game. And after this timeout, here is Gambit's next gun round.
Much better trading and playing off each other as they march into the A site to go for the take. And Dupree absolutely blinded there. That is a great start here for Gambit. Device now with everything to do with that AWP.
The entire T team is here. They have half of the bomb site. There are smokes done everywhere. There's no flank for these CTs. The bomb's getting planted. What is the play from Astralis? They've got money in the bank. They can afford to try and go for this, but the kills keep coming for Gambit.
Look at this site take from Gambit. Look at the util, man. The flashes, the smokes, the mollies, the team play. It was a war zone on A site, but only Astralis players were dying. After that long ass timeout, Gambit literally put out one of the most perfect A site executes that you will ever see. This round is then followed up by quite literally the exact same thing. Zeus down ladder and Gambit would flood out A site. They would then end this round without a single player dying. This broke Astralis' money.
You're broke! You're fucking bull!
And on round 28, Gambit decides this game needs to come to an end. I really don't think it's an exaggeration at all to say this single timeout in this map won Gambit this entire major. You compare this timeout also with the fact that Zeus top fragged during this map, but he did everything he could to finally win his CSGO major. This train versus Astralis is quite literally Zeus's legacy map, at least in my opinion. And according to Zeus, this is what he said to his team during that timeout. Bliad, Suka, calm the fuck down, shut up, and fucking listen to me. We're gonna fuck them in the ass, just do what I fucking say. After I said it, some kind of fucking divine power gave me strength. I dropped down to pop twice. Fuck Dupree in the ass, no chance. Guys joined in and we fucked him up. That's kind of how he went. I mean, wow. Zeus has the words of an angel. God bless you, Zeus. You are without a doubt one of the greatest IGLs in Counter-Strike history, and this is without a doubt the greatest timeout in Counter-Strike history. If you guys enjoyed the video, liking, subscribbling, turn on notifications, and that's it from me, guys. I'll see you next time.